Hey guys, it's Kevin. Here's my review for a film that I'm not sure many of you have heard of, but is definitely something I've been wanting to see for a while, and that is The Rider. And what The Rider is essentially about is we center on the character of Brady Blackburn, and he is someone who is basically renowned for being in rodeos. He's very much been a rising star. All his life, he's trained with horses and things like that, but recently he has had a very serious head injury that may possibly lead him to not being able to do that anymore. And basically the rest of the film is how is he able to move on with his life and what is really his purpose outside of rodeo, and can he really find one, basically to go on after that. So The Rider in general, I was very interested in this movie. I heard a lot of buzz about it going into it. I really didn't recognize any of the actors, which was a bit of a concern to me for sure, but I heard amazing things about it. I heard many people saying this was the best movie of the year, and I have to say that The Rider is about as fantastic as everyone has been saying. This is a damn good movie that really is very inspirational as it is heartfelt, and we're going to get into right now, starting off with the cast. Now, here's the thing with this movie. A lot of people are going to compare this film to the 1517 to Paris, because similar to that film, this is basically what's called stunt casting, where a director, rather than hiring trained actors, they hire basically people who aren't and have actually been through this situation. And after watching the movie, I think that is a very unfair comparison, because in that film, the biggest problem wasn't necessarily the actors, it was that the characters in general didn't have very interesting lives. Brady Chandra, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. This is a very ideal choice, and honestly, after watching the movie, I can't really see anyone else portraying this person, because this isn't really a character. This did in fact happen. Brady Chandra did suffer a very serious head injury, and he has had to go on, for years without riding and things like that, and I think he did a tremendous job in this role. You can tell this is obviously very hard for him, but it feels very real. It honestly does feel like a documentary at points, and you kind of see this as a way for him to cope with the fact that he can't really do what he loves anymore, but is gradually starting to find other work. And I don't know if actor is his next career choice or what he really wants to do, but judging from this film, I think he has a real future for sure. You can really see how passionate he is when it comes to this stuff, and I think he really did an incredible job here. He definitely is a star for sure, and again, I don't know if we're going to see him in other films, but he was phenomenal here. And then the rest of the cast, again, I can't comment on because they are, in fact, real people. Tom Jandreau, this is his real father. Now, I don't know if the character of Wayne was as was as adamant about Brady not being able to do this anymore, but this is someone who is an alcoholic. He is very much against the idea of Brady riding these horses again. He wants nothing to do with that. He's trying to tell him to move on. And their bond is very interesting. There's a lot of tension between these two, but it never really is, it never feels Hollywoodized. It feels very real. It feels like you can tell that obviously he's doing this because he cares about his son, and I think they did a really great job with that overall. Lilly Jandreau, this is not acting. Like, there's no way this is acting, clearly this is someone who is autistic, and they portrayed it perfectly, at least from what I saw. I mean, I've read many articles that his sister was in fact, is in fact autistic, and she did a really good job, honestly. I can see, how someone of her kind, it might be very hard to get a performance out of her, but I think she did a really great job. All the actors also I thought were very strong here. Everyone really did a fantastic job in this film, and I really love where they went with it overall. However, the acting is not the thing to praise in this film, because again, it's not really acting. The thing to praise in this film is Chloe Zhao's directing, which is phenomenal. I mean, this is her film in every way. Just as much as it is Brady's film, this is Zao's film. I mean, it's important to note that despite popular belief, this was Zao's idea. She had this idea from this film, and basically from meeting Brady, that kind of just stemmed into all her other choices. That was way after she completed the script, and her directing here is great. What I love about this film is that, yes, it does feel very bleak at times, and yes, it is quite tragic seeing what he's going through, but it never tries to over dramatize anything. It never tries to beat you over the head with the fact of, oh, he can't ride anymore. It actually does delve a lot deeper into his passion for this, and it does try to give you some inspiration of having to move on from that. And I think the directing is very well handled. It never feels too stagey or Hollywoodized or anything like that, and I really did love the directing. It was very well done. There's even some fun comedy stuff that I overall really did enjoy. The writing as well here is fantastic. I really love the writing to this film because, again, it doesn't feel like a story. Again, this is something that Zaou just coincidentally made up, and then she met the Jandreau family, and again, to many people, they're going to be like, why did you cast them? Well, when you see the interaction that Brady has with all these animals and how he sees them as not just God's creatures, but he sees them as his trusted companions and how delicate and careful he really is with all of them, you can't really see anyone else in the role. I mean, this is what Brady loved to do. This is what he longed to be. He needs to be on a horse. He needs to have that wind blowing in his face. He needs to have a crowd screaming for him. That's just who he is. And the film really does get into that. And here's the thing. Even if you're not familiar with the idea of horse racing, which I certainly am not, that's not something that I have ever aspired to do. I rode a horse when I was very young, but that's about it. That's kind of the end of my experience when it comes to horses. But even if you haven't, it's less about his passion for horse riding and just the idea that he has to give up everything that he loves and he has to start again. And that is something that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. You know, any athletes that have been through this situation before where they've damaged their head and it becomes less of a fact that they don't want you to and more that you just simply can't. It's, you know, for your own health, you can't do that. And for Brady, this gets worse and worse throughout the film. You can see that he physically needs to do this. He needs to be on that horse, but just the limitations of what's happening to him, he just can't do it anymore. And I really love the way that was presented, but also his family life. You can see that he's someone who very much cares about his family. He wants to provide for his sister. You know, he also wants to help his best friend, who his best friend has also very much been damaged, from horse racing, and the way they relate that to Brady kind of realizing this is what he could possibly become is a very good story. I really love the interactions between Brady and his friend Lane. I thought that was honestly one of the best things about the movie. I don't know if Lane and Brady are best friends in real life, but it certainly felt like they did. It's, you know, Lane's scenes, they're very hard to watch, but again, Brady is someone who he constantly goes to him and he uses, you know, they use him as a reminder of like, this is what could really happen if Brady continues to do this. And again, it is very hard to watch at points, but it never feels, you know, like a film where it's too hard to watch. It's more, like I said, heartfelt than anything, but it also is very inspirational because Brady doesn't want to give up on those dreams, even though he knows he can't do it. Something is just, it's keeping him to that horse. He just needs to do something, whether it's training, whether it's helping kids learn how to ride a horse. He needs to do something associated with that, and I really love getting into all that. I thought that was a very well done story overall, but I also love seeing Brady have to move on. There's a whole part of the section where he's in a supermarket and he comes across these two kids who are like fans of him, and and the way they talk to him, you know, they don't know if this is the end. They kind of feel like, yeah, this could be the end of his career, and it's very well handled. I really love the way it was done. I think it's a very, like I said, unapologetic film in that way, and it just feels so real. Nothing about it feels like a theatrical movie. You can tell all of this actually did happen, and it's just so well helmed in that way. You can tell that Zaou, again, she had this great script, but I think her meeting the Jandreau family, it just gave her, it made this feel so much more personal. It made it feel so much more real, and I really couldn't have seen any other way to direct and write this, and I think she did an incredible job with that. The cinematography also here is fantastic. It feels so personal. There are times where when he's on that horse, you feel like you're right there with him. They really do an incredible job of showing what this feels like for him. It's exhilarating. It's such a rush, and you can see why Brady loves doing it as much as he does. Some of the best scenes in this movie are completely wordless. It's just Brady when there's like a dust storm going on and him looking up and thinking about the inevitable future. And again, it's just devastating to think about, but it's so well filmed, and the cinematography, it's among some of the best of the year, easily. The score as well, it's very minimal, but I really did enjoy the way it was done. And the editing to this film I thought was very well paced. It takes a while for them to really tell you everything that's going on. In fact, the opening scene is one of my favorite parts of this movie because it's just kind of hinting at what's really going on with Brady. It gives you hints and it gives you some ideas of what he's really going through, but it never spells it out for you. That's something that you as a viewer really do need to put together, and I definitely really did love seeing. As for flaws, I can't really think of much with this movie, mainly because of the fact that it does feel so real, but I will say the other characters besides Brady aren't really all that well developed, but again, I think that's because this is largely Brady's film. It's very personal. It's getting into his character, and again, it's not really a character. This is who he really is. This is what he really has to go through on a daily basis, and I think that's presented very well, that flaw isn't really there. Again, these characters, sure, like his sister, there isn't much given to her. Like, we do get stuff with them, but there isn't really a lot given to just her or just to his father. But again, that's because it really is Brady's film. Because of that, I can't really find too many flaws with this film. That overall, guys, The Rider is a fantastic movie. There's not really a ton I can say about it because, again, it does feel so personal. It does feel so in the moment. It's one of those movies where you just watch it and words can't really comprehend it, honestly. Words can't really give it justice. I think you just really need to see it. It's a fantastic film. It's one of the best I have seen all year. It feels so more personal than other films of its kind. It's got a fantastic performance from Brady Chandra, who, like I said, I think is really going to go far after this film. If he's trying to become an actor, I don't know if he is, but either way, guys, I really love this film overall, and I am going to give The Rider overall an A. But either way, guys, this is my review of The Rider. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall. Left your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.